My sister cried in her car last week. She'd just checked her savings account, $44,000. Money she'd been putting away for 7 years. Every bonus, every tax refund, every time she skipped dinner out or said no to a vacation. 7 years of discipline, 7 years of doing what she was told. And she just sat there in the parking lot of her bank and cried because she was looking at houses, and the down payment she'd been saving for, the one that would have been enough 3 years ago, it's not even close anymore. The houses didn't get better, her money just got weaker. And here's what broke her. She did everything right. She saved, she sacrificed, she was responsible. And it didn't matter. That's not a personal failure. That's the system telling you the truth. Let me show you what's really happening, because once you understand it, the anger turns into clarity, and clarity is the first step to actually winning. There's this moment I keep seeing. Someone posts their savings milestone online. $10,000 saved, $25,000 emergency fund complete. And the comments are congratulatory, people celebrate, it feels like progress. But then, 6 months later, that same person is back, confused and frustrated. I have $30,000 saved, but I still can't afford anything. I did everything Dave Ramsey said, but I feel poorer than when I started. Why does having money in the bank feel like having nothing? And here's what nobody's telling them. They're playing a game where the finish line moves backward faster than they can run forward. It's not in their head, it's not lack of discipline, it's math. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like. Right now, the average savings account in America pays about 0.5% interest. Some are better, maybe 4% if you shop around. Inflation? It's running somewhere between 3 and 6% depending on what you're actually trying to buy. So let's be generous. Let's say you found a great savings account paying 4%, and let's say inflation is only 3%. You're gaining 1% real purchasing power per year. 1%. That means if you save $50,000, in a year you've gained $500 in real terms. $500 for locking up $50,000. But here's where it gets worse. That's the average inflation rate. That's not the inflation rate on things you actually need. Housing? Up 7% per year in most markets. Some places 15%. Healthcare? Up 5 to 8% annually. Education? Up 6% or more. Groceries? Everyone knows that story. So while your savings account is beating general inflation by 1%, it's losing to real-life inflation, the cost of the things you're actually saving for, by 3%, 5%, sometimes 10% per year. You're running uphill on a treadmill that's tilting backward. And that's why saving money feels useless, because in the economy we're actually living in, it kind of is. Now here's the part that really messes people up. You were raised to believe saving money was the responsible thing, the smart thing, the safe thing. Your parents saved, your grandparents saved. It worked for them. But here's what changed. The rules. When your grandparents were saving, they could get a 5% interest rate on a basic savings account while inflation ran at 2%. They were making money by saving money. When your parents were saving, interest rates were still decent. Housing was 3x the median income, not 8x. A dollar saved actually held its value long enough to be useful. But that world is gone, and nobody updated the advice. So you're following a strategy designed for an economy that doesn't exist anymore. It's like trying to use a map from 1985 to navigate a city that's been completely rebuilt. You're not lost because you can't read a map. You're lost because the map is wrong. Here's what this looks like in practice. Let's say you're 28 years old. You want to buy a house. You start saving. You save $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. That's serious money. That's discipline. In 5 years, you've saved $30,000, maybe a bit more with interest. Great, you did it. You have a down payment. Except The house you were targeting 5 years ago cost $250,000. Now it costs $380,000. Your down payment would have been enough, but the house inflated faster than your savings. You saved for 5 years and you're further away from your goal than when you started. That's not failure, that's the system outrunning you. And here's the gut punch. You can't save faster. You're already maxed out. You can't out-discipline this. You can't out-hustle this. The game is rigged against savers, and nobody told you. So what happens psychologically when you realize this? Most people blame themselves first. I should have saved more. I should have started earlier. I'm not good with money. But that's not what's happening. You're not bad with money. The money is bad with you. Here's the truth. You're being punished for doing what you were told was right. Think about how insane that is. You deny yourself. You skip the trips. You drive the old car. You eat at home. You do everything the financial gurus say. And the reward for that discipline? You lose purchasing power. Meanwhile, your friend who bought a house 5 years ago, even though they were not ready, even though everyone said they were being reckless, they're sitting on $130,000 in equity they didn't work for. They didn't save harder, they just stopped playing the losing game. And this is where the anger comes in, because it feels unfair, and it is. The system is set up to transfer wealth from people who save cash to people who own assets. From renters to landlords, from savers to investors, from the cautious to the positioned. It's not a moral judgment. It's not about who works harder or who's smarter. It's about who understands the game and who doesn't. And if you don't understand it, you can work twice as hard and end up with half as much. Now let me be clear, I'm not saying don't save money. You need an emergency fund, you need liquidity, you need cash for short-term needs. But if your strategy is just to keep piling money into a savings account and hope that's enough, you're going to lose. Not because you're doing it wrong, because the system is designed that way. So what do you actually do? First, you have to accept the uncomfortable truth. Saving alone doesn't build wealth anymore. It preserves options. Your emergency fund? That's insurance. That's not an investment. Your down payment fund? That's a launching pad. That's not the finish line. Once you accept that, the strategy changes completely. You're not trying to save your way to wealth. You're trying to save enough to access wealth. Here's what that looks like. You keep 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. That's your safety net. That's non-negotiable. But everything beyond that, you put it to work. Not in a savings account earning 4% while housing inflates at 10%. In things that inflate with the economy, not against it. Real estate, stocks, index funds, assets that appreciate. Because here's the secret wealthy people figured out. Inflation is only a problem if you're holding cash. If you're holding assets, inflation works for you. When housing goes up 7% per year, homeowners get richer, renters get poorer. When stocks go up 10% per year, investors get richer, savers get poorer. The exact same economic force, inflation, creates winners and losers based on what you're holding. And the people who told you to just save, they either don't know this or they're not incentivized to tell you. Banks want you to keep money in savings accounts. That's how they make money, lending out your savings at higher rates. Your employer wants you to stay hungry, keep working, keep needing that paycheck. The system runs smoother when you save cash and stay in your lane, but you don't have to play by those rules. Here's what I wish someone had told me 10 years ago. Stop optimizing your savings rate. Start optimizing your asset acquisition rate. The question isn't, how much can I save this month? The question is, how much can I convert from cash into assets that grow faster than inflation? Maybe that's $100 a month into an index fund. Maybe it's saving aggressively for 2 years to get into real estate, then stopping the cash hoarding. Maybe it's investing in yourself, skills, education, business that increase your income so you can acquire assets faster. But the strategy can't be save cash and hope, because hope isn't a strategy and cash isn't an asset. Not anymore. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but the stock market is risky. Real estate is expensive. I can't afford to lose money. And you're right to be cautious. But here's what's also true. You're already losing money every month in your savings account. You're losing 3%, 5%, 7% per year to inflation, guaranteed. At least in the market, you have a chance to win. You're not avoiding risk by saving. You're just choosing a different risk, the guaranteed risk of your money losing value. Here's what I want you to take from this. If saving money feels useless right now, you're not crazy. You're not failing. You're just finally seeing the game for what it is. And the game is this: cash loses. Assets win. Time makes the gap bigger. My sister stopped crying that day in her car when I explained this to her, not because it made her feel better, but because it gave her clarity. She's not saving for a down payment anymore. She's saving to get into the game. She's not trying to save her way to wealth. She's trying to save her way to leverage. And once you make that shift, everything changes. You stop feeling like a failure for not having enough saved. You start feeling strategic about what you do with what you have. If this changed how you see your savings, or if you've felt this exact frustration, subscribe to Expozer. We break down the systems that shape your money, not to make you angry, to make you aware. New videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Your savings aren't useless, but the strategy you were taught is.